Mr. Malkovich, thank you very much for being with us today.
Pleasure.
Are you sick of interviews?
No, I mean, interviews are part of my job, so.
I was thinking that your parents owned a newspaper, right? A local newspaper. So were you aware of what is about with the journalism and journalists and interviews even when you were a kid?
Oh, not really very much, because it's not something I ever followed. I mean, certainly I read our newspaper and my father published a magazine, but I don't know that interviews were a very important part of their newspaper. It was a pretty small town, so.
But the importance of objectivity and accuracy helped you later in your career as an actor?
I don't know about objectivity, but I think curiosity is always helpful.
Tell me, when I say Romania, what are you thinking about?
Well, I can't think of that much really outside of Bucharest, because this is only my second time here, and the first time was super brief. 10 years ago, I think I only spent one night the night before, if even, and maybe, yeah, one night. I don't think it was even 2 nights, although maybe. And we had rehearsals, and we played at the Athenaeum and had rehearsals, so I didn't get to see or do much of anything. So what little I know about Romania is knowing a little bit of Bucharest, really.
I know that you wanted to visit Transylvania. What do you know about Transylvania? I mean, why Transylvania?
Not very much, really, just to see it. I did a film some years ago that I like very much called Shadow of a Vampire, and that was actually supposed to be, part of it was supposed to be a train journey across or near the Carpathian Mountains. And Transylvania has always just been something you read about in books or something.
Like a mystery place. Do you know that the King Charles III, he has a house in Transylvania also?
Yeah, so I heard, yeah.
He's very attracted by the nature. It's a very wild nature. You should really go.
I'd love to.
I'm sure that you'd love to see.
Love to.
Tell me, before you received the script for The Yellow Tie, did you know anything about the conductor, Sergiu Celebidache?
No, nothing. I got the script, it was a while ago now, I want to say almost 2 years, it was a while ago. And I began to look at what I could find, interviews and rehearsals that he did, and working with musicians and with choruses and all that, and of course some of his, obviously some of his conducting, but I didn't really know anything about him before.
And how did you find him? I mean, when you read about him, what?
Well, he had a very fascinating life. He was obviously extremely bright. He had very, very set, some might call them immoderate, but I don't think they really were, very strong positions about what he felt about how music should be played and should be heard as well, which I pretty much agree with, and how much rehearsal you should have, and how you hear the music and how the music should be played, all of that. I was also struck by what an incredible linguist he was. He was so fluent and so expressive in so many languages. It was very impressive. But I really only what I knew about his life really came from watching Serge, his son's film, Celibidache's Garden, and just reading the script and bits I could find about him on the internet.
How do you use the archive or the videos with him in order to create your part, your character? Are they useful?
I mean, it depends on what someone's looking for. In this, for instance, we only perform in English. There are no other languages. And Serge didn't want me to have an accent like his father, so an archival footage would have been helpful for that, but he didn't want that. So, and that's a director's decision, of course.
What about the movements, or I don't know?
Oh, some
I
things,
remember that he was really
very flamboyant. Very expressive. He was very expressive, verbally and physically. But I play him, of course, when he is much older. I play him at age 77 and age 80. So by the time he died at 84, but by then
was a little bit
was
more
less physically active.
What part of the scenario do you think it's the most demanding for yourself?
Conducting, because people train a lifetime to be a conductor. I mean, you don't do it in 50 lessons or whatever.
Do you have a professional coach, a professional conductor that is working with you?
Yeah. Conrad Van Appel, who is a student of Celibidache's, he's been super helpful, but still that's...
it's hard.
It's very hard conducting, yeah.
You were saying that you were going to play Celibidache when he's older, but I was thinking about him when he was a kid, and I was wondering, what's your first memory as a kid?
I don't know first. Most of my memories as a child have to do with my grandfather, who I spent most of my very young childhood with him, going around with him. So those are probably my first memories. I have vague memories of our first house, but not incredibly strong memories now at my age. I mean, it all has a tendency to fade.
But because you have this memory about your grandfather, are you trying to be this kind of grandfather for a grandchild?
Well, I think the thing about my grandfather is I think you can try to be something, but you have to really love children to be a good grandparent.
Isn't that like something that you can learn?
I don't think so. I mean, you can learn patience, and you can learn how to spend time maybe with a grandchild, with kids. But I think liking to do it is hard to learn. I think you just like it or you don't.
And you like to be a grandfather?
Absolutely, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Tell me, coming back to the project, do you have a daily routine when you're on a project like that? I don't know. Do you exercise, or you just eat something, or you do something special, or it's like a...
No, I study quite a bit. And of course, the older one gets, the more one studies, because it's just that way. I also have a lot of different projects of things that I'm doing this summer, all of which have a fairly sizable amount of text that has to be memorized, and et cetera, et cetera. So I study a lot. I don't have any particular thing that I do or activities that I do. I don't get really to work out much or go to the gym. I like to walk, but our days are very, very long. You don't really have time for that, because once you get up in the morning, you work, that's 12 or 13 hours, normally maybe 14, maybe 11 and a half, something like that. It's about 30 minutes where we shoot there and back, so that's already 15 hours. So there isn't really much time to do much more except work and study.
Tell me something, who was the director that challenged you the most until now?
Well, probably Stephen Frears, the English director, perhaps, because he watches actors very closely, I think, and he's quite good at helping to construct a performance and quite good at eliciting a performance, and quite watchful. A lot of directors don't really understand much about acting or how you do it or how to be helpful in doing it. Most directors speak in results. Theater directors generally, at least well-trained ones or good ones, you don't speak in results. You know, you don't say, this is a scene where you're really angry, or this is a scene where you're very sad. Yeah, I can see that. But their training generally is purely visual. Speaking, frankly, it's purely visual. It's not. They're not trained in that aspect.
And what do you really need from a director?
Well, I don't really need anything, meaning I'm not someone, I've done way over 100 films. I think I asked a director maybe one question in my life, and it was just, am I in this scene? Mm-hmm. So you have to learn to be self-sufficient, because there are just so many different ways of directing, or what people would consider directing. Not that many of them are applicable to what I need to do. So I wouldn't say I needed anything. I would like, I mean, I mentioned Stephen Frears, I'd like a director to participate in the construction of a character. But you don't get that very often.
Because you're talking about this, how did you go, or who was there when you go from the theater to the cinema?
Well, I mean, you're there, meaning all directors are different. Some see you in a certain way. Some are surprised that you're not a certain way. Some are surprised that you are a certain way. Some hire you for what they think you are, or something you already did. A few may hire you for what they think you might be able to do. There's such a that such a disparate community directors. They often have little similarity from one to the other. You'd have to speak very specifically about this director. What is he like? What is she like? What is he like? How do they run a set? What do they look for? Some do concentrate on the actors, but it's very few. And also, that's just one aspect. I mean, there's so many aspects to filmmaking, and actors are just one part of them.
But when you began as a theater actor, did you think that one day you're gonna do cinema, or you didn't think at all?
I didn't think, period, I think, about cinema or anything else. I just thought about
Acting.
the play I was doing and how to make it more compelling, how to try to maximize its strengths and minimize its flaws. Every performance, that's what I thought about. I certainly never thought about doing movies.
How important is an acting partner?
Very important. Again, it depends though if you mean on stage or in the movies.
It's completely different?
Totally different.
Why?
Yes. Well, because on stage it's a living thing, it's ephemeral. So you want somebody who's
with the same
capable
energy.
of exchange, capable of listening and responding. If you give them this impetus, they give back this impetus. That isn't necessarily the case with cinema.
Because why? In cinema?
Because most of your work really is with the camera. It's with the camera.
Oh, okay.
So my feeling early on was the first film I did was a film called The Killing Fields, and I learned a great deal on that film from the technicians who were shooting
Really?
it. And that sort of interested me more about the cinema than my acting partners did. Because I've had thousands of acting partners. I'm very happy to have had them, most of them anyway, great majority of them. But it seemed to me the more interesting aspect of the cinema were all the technical aspects.
Would you say that, I don't know, somebody was the most pleasant acting partner in my career until now? Or if there are some
I think I've had a million pleasant acting partners. My closest colleague is a Lithuanian actress called Ingeborg Adapkūnaitė. We've worked together for over 30 years. And Inga is so fantastically pleasant, but that's not why she's my closest colleague. She's my closest colleague because that's the person I want next to me if I'm doing something difficult that requires a great deal of concentration and commitment, and has a high degree of difficulty. And that's because of her seriousness and her work ethic.
You think that's
And
important,
talent,
I don't know, the chemistry between the persons for a good character, to do a good part in a movie? Or it doesn't matter? I mean, okay, we're not okay when the movie stops, when the scene stops, but we are very good in...
That can happen, I'm
Yeah.
sure. I mean, I do think chemistry can be very important, but of course you can do well with people even if the relation, the rehearsal time, the run of the play, the work in a movie, I don't know what, is stressful. You can still do okay, even well. I mean, probably there is also a chemistry with people you don't get along with. But I don't think it's a requirement. You know, you can't forget movies. It only has to appear that way. It's not theater. Theater has to be that way because it's live and it's not manipulated. You're watching it live. It's ephemeral. It's organic. It lives,
and you think you can't
breathes.
fake it? That's what you say? In theater, you can, I mean, the audience can feel if it's not real, more than in a movie.
Yeah, because it's much less manipulated. Of course the audience can feel it.
And it's closer to the audience, even
I don't know.
Physically.
Closer is a big word, but it's just different. They're not even really cousins. A movie is a dead thing. It's a plastic art. Theater is a living thing. Very different. You don't watch a movie being made. I mean, you may make a documentary of a movie being made, and that may be fantastic, or it may be excruciatingly boring, and everything in between. But theater is living. Cinema is not.
If you'd need an advice, who are you talking with?
Well, about what?
On one hand, in life, if you have a friend or somebody that you really trust when you need to take a decision, for example, and on the other hand, when you're building a part, do you have somebody that you're asking if that's the way, or that's what do you think, or that you really trust?
Well, you have to trust a director. That's really who's supposed to be your partner. But most of that decision in the cinema depends on them. In the cinema, you're a figure in someone else's dream, you know, and it's that person's dream, and so it should be their decision.
You have to fulfill their dream. That's what you say.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know, have to, but you
try to.
You should try to, in my opinion. Yeah.
And in your real life, I mean, not in a movie, not at theater, do you have a friend that you ask when you need an advice?
Yeah, I have had. The person probably I would have done that the most with passed away this year, so probably now not so much. My wife a lot, I ask. My producing partners I had for many years, I've often asked them things. But some of the friends that I had for many, many years for things like that have passed away in the last year, 2, 3 years. So much fewer friends to ask.
Do you have a hero in your real life?
No. No, not really. There are people I admire, at least for certain aspects of their character, or for things they've accomplished, or for their intelligence, or their perceptions, or their talents. But I don't have a hero, no.
Are you still wearing, or are you wearing clothes from your fashion brands? Do you still have them?
I have some, yeah. Yeah.
Are you still interested in this?
I'm not doing fashion anymore, but I'm a lifelong fabric collector, and I'm interested in things that are pretty. I don't see a lot of them, but
Why are you saying this?
but I'm interested in that. Yeah.
What about watches? Are you still a watches collector or a watches lover more than?
I have a few, but I don't wear them much anymore. Yeah.
Because we're talking about clothes, is it true that in the video with the Annie Lennox music video, Walking on Broken Glass, you are wearing a costume from the movie, from the Dangerous Liaisons?
Mm-hmm.
Is it true?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what they asked me, and unfortunately they never sent it back to me, so I'm not very happy about that.
No.
Because it was a gift from the great costumer James Atchison. Yeah, I never got it back. I was in England, and they were supposed to, I think, send it to LA or something. I don't know what they did, but anyway,
Maybe they will listen to you
right
right now, and they will send it back.
No, I already checked 20, 30 years ago. They're
How was the experience?
Not interested. Experience was fine, great.
It was fun?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I met Hugh Laurie there, who I like a lot, and who I just saw on a plane a couple of months ago on the way to Athens. And Annie Lennox, I like a lot, and is a fantastic writer and performer. So it was very nice, yeah.
The last time you voted is still 1972?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Why?
Not a big interest of mine.
How do you think that your friends are describe you in one word?
I have no idea. I never asked for it.
You have to have a clue.
Not really. I think sometimes people think that if you're a person who's known, that somehow your big interest in life is yourself, and my big interest in life is not myself. So
what's your big interest in life then?
All kinds of things. I mean, all kinds of things. But myself really isn't one of them. So I can't imagine saying to this person or that person, what do you think of me? I mean, who cares? I don't even care. So I never have anything to add to that kind of question or conversation, because I don't.
You don't think at what
No.
they were saying if, I don't know, somebody's asking, how is John? And to say, I don't know, he's funny, or he's interesting, he's smart, he's talented, or...
Or he isn't any of those things, maybe they'd say. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, with most of my friends, we laugh a lot, so...
So maybe they say you're funny.
Maybe. Or childish, maybe, which that's certainly true as well. But really, it's not just something I think about much, so I actually don't know.
You're talking about hobbies. What are your hobbies?
My hobbies, well, not much now, because I just work all the time. But over my life, I gardened a lot, I drew a lot, cooked or baked a lot, designed a lot, both in fashion and houses and furnishings and what have you, things like that. I read a lot. So.
Do you like to sing?
I used to like to sing a few billion cigarettes ago, but I haven't done it in a few years. I'm supposed to play a retired rock star this winter, or late autumn, winter. But now with the writer's strike, I'm not quite sure what's going to happen there, so we'll see. But yeah, I used to like to sing. Mm-hmm.
What is the last photo that you did with your phone?
I went to the village museum. And I took a ton of photos there that I sent to our children and our granddaughter. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure to talk to you.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Be well. Thank you.